You're staring at a decision that could change everything. Your mind is spinning through endless what-ifs, and every option feels like it could be a mistake. But in 1994, a Wall Street investment banker discovered a simple mental trick that made his impossible choice obvious, and it built one of the world's most valuable companies. Welcome to the Modern Sages. Ancient wisdom, modern application. Today, the story behind the decision framework that created Amazon, what behavioral science reveals about our fear of regret, and your 2-minute practice to cut through any hard choice you're facing right now. The year is 1994, and 30-year-old Jeff Bezos has what most people would call the perfect life. He's pulling down serious money as a senior vice president at D.E. Shaw & Company, one of Wall Street's most prestigious quantitative hedge funds. We're talking 6 figures in 1990s money. That's serious wealth. Bezos has just gotten married to Mackenzie. They've bought their first home together, and he's basically living the American dream. Smart guy, great job, stable future stretching out ahead of him like a perfectly planned spreadsheet. But then he starts noticing something. The internet is growing at 2,300% per year. Not 23%, 2,300%. He's never seen anything grow that fast in his entire career analyzing markets and trends. So Bezos does what any good analyst does. He starts researching. He discovers that the book industry has over 3 million titles in print. No physical bookstore could ever stock that many books. But an online store? An online store could offer every single one. The opportunity is staring him in the face. But there's just one tiny problem. Taking it would mean giving up everything he's worked for. Now, if you've ever faced a decision where both paths seem terrifying, you know exactly what Bezos is going through. Stay with the safe job and potentially miss the opportunity of a lifetime? Or leap into the unknown and risk losing everything you've built? His boss at D.E. Shaw isn't exactly encouraging. When Bezos explains his idea about starting an online bookstore, his boss actually says, "You know what, Jeff? This sounds like a really good idea for someone who doesn't already have a good job." Talk about a gut punch. Here's this respected mentor essentially telling him he'd be crazy to leave. And it's not like Bezos is some natural-born entrepreneur. He's never started a business. He's got no experience in retail, no experience in books, no experience in anything except Wall Street number crunching. Plus, Mackenzie is just getting settled into their new life together. But Bezos realizes something. Traditional decision-making frameworks aren't working. When he tries to analyze this choice like a typical investment decision, weighing pros and cons, building financial models, calculating risk-adjusted returns, he just gets more confused. The variables are too uncertain, the potential outcomes too extreme. So he develops what he calls his regret minimization framework. And here's how it works. Instead of asking, "What's the best choice?" he asks, "Which choice will I regret least?" But here's the brilliant part. He doesn't just think about tomorrow or next year. He projects himself forward to age 80, imagines himself as an old man looking back on his life and asks, "What will I wish I had done?" Suddenly, the whole decision flips. At 80, would he regret trying to start a company during the internet boom and failing? Probably not. Failure stings, but the pain fades. You dust yourself off, you learn something, you move on. But would he regret never trying at all? That would haunt him every single day. And just like that, what seemed like an egoistic matter, whatever you did, but then just like that, in Bezos's words, incredibly easy. He walks into his boss's office and resigns. Within days, he and Mackenzie are packing their car for a cross-country drive from New York to Seattle. They're literally writing the business plan while Mackenzie drives. Picture this. A couple in their 30s, driving across America with everything they own, chasing an idea that most people think is insane. Bezos is making phone calls to potential investors from rest stops, trying to explain why people will buy books from a computer instead of walking into a bookstore. They set up shop in the garage of their rental house in Bellevue, Washington. Bezos is packing books on a concrete floor, using a wooden door as a desk because they can't afford real furniture. Mackenzie is handling the accounting. They're working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. And on July 5th, 1995, Amazon.com goes live. The first sale? A book called Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies to a computer scientist in California. Bezos doesn't even know the guy. It's a complete stranger who somehow found this weird new website. But here's what's incredible. Within the first month, Amazon is selling books to people in all 50 states and 45 countries. Without any advertising, without any marketing budget. Just word of mouth and the power of this new thing called the World Wide Web. 26 years later, Amazon is worth over $1 trillion. But here's what Bezos says about that decision. It wasn't the money that made it right. Even if Amazon had failed completely, he would have been proud that he tried. The regret minimization framework didn't guarantee success. It guaranteed he could live with the outcome. And here's what's fascinating. Behavioral economists discovered the exact same principle decades later. They call it loss aversion. And here's what they found. The pain of losing something is roughly twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining that same thing. But there's a twist. When researchers studied long-term happiness, they discovered that people don't regret the things they tried and failed at. They regret the chances they never took. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, puts it this way. In the long run, we regret the chances we didn't take more than the chances we did take. The things we don't do haunt us more than the things we do poorly. This isn't just philosophy anymore, it's science. And it explains why Bezos's framework works so well. It forces you to think about the regret that lasts, not just the fear that's temporary. Now for the 2-minute practice. Think of a decision you're avoiding right now. Open your notes app or grab a piece of paper and write this down. At 80 years old, I will regret not doing blank because blank. Then write, at 80 years old, I will not regret trying blank and failing because blank. Fill in those blanks. Be specific. Don't think about next week or next month. Think about the very end of your life, looking back. The option that creates the deeper, longer-lasting regret, that's what you're actually afraid of. And now you know which way to lean. Here's the principle in one line. Your biggest risk isn't failure. It's wondering, what if, for the rest of your life. The things we don't try haunt us longer than the things we try and mess up. When you're stuck on a hard decision, zoom out to the very end and ask what you'll wish you had done. Now I'm curious. You get a couple little Agassiz General City now, but don't think that they would last, and think of it. Now I'm curious. You could take much of this line, but filling there's more judgments without a joyed me. Now I'm curious. You can take at that point what's harder for you to live with. The sting of failing at something important, or the haunting thought of never trying at all? Drop your answer like this. Harder to live with, blank. Decision I'm avoiding, blank. If you want more frameworks that turn ancient wisdom into modern clarity, subscribe. We're here daily helping you think like the sages.